I'm super small. Oh, God. Everything's small. I want to get out of here quick. This is the Ant-Man review. Thank you for tuning in. I watched it last night. It was pretty good. It was pretty bad in some points. Let's just give it the benefit of the doubt. 10 out of 10 as usual. Ah! That's a giant ant. I'm small, whatever. I want to get out of here quick. I asked you guys questions on Twitter and Facebook. What do you want to know about the film? And you guys asked me some. So Simon, he asked me, I've been hearing a lot of comparisons being thrown around Guardians of the Galaxy and Ant-Man, and some are saying Ant-Man is even more of a wild card than Guardians was. Which do you prefer? Well, I'll be honest with you. Guardians of the Galaxy kicks the shit out of Ant-Man in terms of style, tone, direction, acting, everything. Characters, the way that it was developed, the way that the plot is pushed forward and has really good pacing, and it's really well done with a simple story. People always assume that Guardians of the Galaxy is like this convoluted story, and here's the difference between the films. One of them doesn't worry about where it fits in the Marvel Universe, and one of them does worry about and show you where it fits in the Marvel Universe almost constantly. It's reminding you where Ant-Man fits in, and that's the difference between these films. One's a heist film, one's a sci-fi space film. It's hard to compare them, but you asked the question, I'm being honest. The film's directed by Peyton Reed, which he's done The Weird Al Show and Mr. Show and Bring It On and Down with Love and The Breakup and Yes Man. Really? We're getting this guy to replace Edgar Wright? I honestly don't understand what's going on here. Andrew Warren Dick, he asks, what did you think of Ant-Man? Did it hold up to its comic book roots? He was an original Avenger. Did it hold up to its comic book roots? No, it didn't. There's so many differences between the comic and the film that a lot of people, I think, are either going to be extremely let down because they change so many things, or they're going to really enjoy it. The villain, the way his wife is handled, the way almost everything about Hank is handled, the original Ant-Man, everything, the way it's handled is not, in my opinion, done right in this film. So I think Ant-Man, if we're talking in terms of Scott, the new Ant-Man, he's the highlight of the film. Yes, he's great in the film. Paul Rudd does an amazing job of capturing the essence of what it's like to be Ant-Man when he turns into Ant-Man. Everything before that, when he's just a con man, or I should say, he's a cat burglar, doesn't work for me, and I'll get into the details of that as I go in. I'm sorry, it doesn't work for me on how we get to Scott from Hank. It doesn't work for me. We don't see enough of Hank's backstory, and that's where I'll get into the actual characters in the film. So pulling off the heist in the film is pretty interesting. It's amazing to see Marvel actually go ahead and say, okay, let's make a heist film but with superheroes in it. And yes, obviously it does talk about the Avengers quite a bit in this film, and it's kind of poking you every 5 minutes saying, we're in the universe, guys. Hold on, because it'll get better. We're in the universe, so make sure that you keep watching, because Avengers, Avengers, Avengers. And you're like, okay, we get it. Can I get back to the story, the essence of why Scott is becoming Ant-Man? And it just skims the surface. It never really brings it deep down into that. We never see an actual serious moment with Scott that I felt was believable. Everything was kind of fluff. It was like, here's Scott, he's a con man, breaks into shit, he's bad, wants to suddenly care for his daughter after 3 years in prison, but we don't see that out of him. We don't see a moment between him and his daughter that I feel justifies that he wants to come back and be this superhero. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work, and I'm sorry. And there's a lot of stuff in this film that does work. That is not one of the things that works. Let's talk about the actors. You got Michael Douglas, who plays the original Ant-Man in the film. He plays Dr. Hank Pym. Every time they said the name, I was like, how do you pronounce his last name? But whatever. He is so underused in this film. You've got a legend there. A fucking goddamn legend. And he's so misused. You just hate him in this film. He's not likable, and I'll tell you why he's not likable. He uses the goddamn ants. He doesn't ask for their help, and he's not compassionate with them. We never see moments with Dr. Hanky back in the past petting an ant or taking care of an ant. Yes, it's clear that he is a scientist, and he's clearly just using them in the film, and he's a dickhead. When Scott comes along and puts on the ant suit, he has compassion for the ants. He names one of them Anthony, which I thought was hilarious, and that's his sidekick in the film. He rides that bad boy around like a maniac, but the point here is, you hate Hank. You absolutely hate Hank. That's like Hank and Ant together. You hate, I can't say it all because it's Ant and Hank, and you just hate him. I'll be honest with you, I don't like the original Ant-Man character in this. Michael Douglas, that he calls in his role. He's quoted as saying, the first reason I did this film was so my kids could see me in a Marvel film. Yeah, good reasoning. Great, thanks for that, Michael. That was great. Paul Rudd as Scott Lang. Does he do a good job as Ant-Man? Yes, it's sufficient. I think he has to deal with the script, and he has to deal with the story here, and a director who doesn't quite understand what he's doing because Edgar Wright was supposed to originally do it. And I think the whole cast, to be honest here, was extremely let down when Edgar Wright left the project over creative differences. So we're going into a film with a director who's just stepping in at the last second. Think about this, guys. A director who has nothing to do with a project steps on the set within a month, maybe 2 weeks, and starts directing a film that he just read and like had nothing to do with in terms of creative things. Like, he rewrote the script, of course, to make it work because, as I said, there was a huge difference between the script that originally existed and the script that we got. So yeah, he steps in last minute. Did he do a great job? Again, I'm going long-winded on why I think Edgar Wright would have crushed this film, and Mr. Reed, he did a decent job. It wasn't X-Men 3 disastrous. We've got Mrs. Lilly, Evangeline Lilly, I'm not sure how to pronounce her name. She does an amazing job in the film as the female lead. She's gorgeous, she's strong, she's not a, oh my god, she's not scared of the insects. She controls them better than Hank does. It's unbelievable to see. She's got that power. Here's the thing, she's working with, same as Paul Rudd, they're working with a script that just is changed. It's not what it was. So it's like you have really good moments, and everybody will agree in the reviews, really good moments, and then moments that are weak. And I can guarantee you the moments that are weak in this are not Edgar Wright written. Guaranteed 100%. And that is why you don't replace the director at the last second. Corey Stoll, who plays Darren Cross / Yellow Jacket in the film, is the main villain of Ant-Man. And again, his motives are not really made clear to you. I'm not going to spoil anything for you, but when you see the film, maybe you'll agree with me, maybe you won't, but I was hoping for a more standard, okay, here's the reasoning behind this. And it's the typical Marvel, simple Disney answers as usual. It doesn't get into super detail. It's not deep. It's not emotional. It's, okay, he's crazy and there's a reason for that, and that's really kind of it. He's just crazy and he wants to impress the original Ant-Man, and that's all his motive is. And as the film goes, you're hoping for a bigger reveal of what the motive is, and there's something crazy, isn't there? And no, and it just kind of fizzles out, literally in a little, like it's gone. That's his motive. That's, what? That's, okay, I'm kind of disappointed. So, I've been talking, it's sitting at a 10 out of 10. I mean, the acting is as good as the script will let it, but it's disappointing. I don't believe in these characters, and Michael Douglas really is an asshole in this film, and that's a weird choice. Like, they didn't get his tone right. He doesn't save the day. He doesn't have a moment of, like, redemption. He's just a dickhead throughout the whole film, and I'm not going to give it a 9 or a 7. Let's just bring it down right now to an 8. As I go forward here, I have to talk about the tone and pacing. The film doesn't know really what it wants to be. It wants to be a Marvel film. It wants to be a heist film. It wants to be an emotional film where a man connects with his daughter again, but it doesn't do any of those things really, really well. All of the heist scenes are laughable, and you never get to see Scott in his original con man phase when he's out there and he's conning people and he's stealing from the rich and giving back to the poor. Like, they tell you he's a good con man. He's a person who, like, steals from the rich, gives to the poor. Great, he's kind of like Robin Hood, but show me that. Why isn't that shown? I don't know. We're just told in passing through, like, some dialogue. It doesn't make sense to me why they would do that. Also, on top of it, It avoids everything. Here's the thing I find it avoids everything from the comic book that made Hank an asshole in the comic books, but he's still an asshole in the film for other reasons. Why did they change that? I mean, they took out everything about how he was abusive to his wife in the comic books. They took out just how the relationship worked with his daughter. They took out so much from that, and I was really disappointed. Yet you're still left with an asshole character who has nothing redeemable about him. The relationship with the ants bothered me so much. We don't get a connection, an emotional connection that's really strong. We don't feel it between Hank and the ants. And Scott does do a decent job of showing you that he cares about these ants, that he understands them, and he's not just using them. Yet you got that Hank character who's over him all the time saying like, use the ants, they're your ability. And it's like, you don't use nature like that. It's gonna come back to haunt you, you goddamn asshole. I've been thinking about this. The tone and the pacing's so bad, I'm bringing this down to a 7 out of 10. I can't get over the fact that they don't understand what kind of film this is supposed to be. You can't really jab in like a Marvel film within a heist film and make it work with a director who's just hopped onto the project after another director's worked on it for like 6 years. Doesn't make sense to me, and it shows. The film has moments of like brilliance because of Edgar Wright, and then moments that are weak because of Reed. And the director Reed, did he hold it together? And like I said, it's not as bad as X-Men 3, but it's got, like, let's be honest here, I'm just being honest, it's not that good. The direction is just not that good at all. He really doesn't have the director didn't have an emotional tie to the film like Edgar Wright did, and I keep driving that point into the ground, and I'm sorry about that, but just watch Scott Pilgrim and tell me you don't think that Ant-Man would be better with that director in its spot. Again, all of the actors were clearly, well, here's the thing, they signed non-disclosure agreements which tell them you can't say peep about that. So when they were asked about Edgar Wright leaving the film, it was so clear in the media that everybody on the cast was disappointed. So they're going into this disappointed. How do you mentally come into this and think like we're still going to pull it off with the director who just stepped in the last second? I just don't get it. And I'm being honest with you guys, I just don't get it. It's still a great, fun summer popcorn film, which I wouldn't take too seriously. And overall, I'm going to leave it at a 7 out of 10. It's staying there visually. Like, I didn't really talk about the, well, you know what? I'll leave it on this part. In closing, before I get the hell out of here, before I get eaten by an ant, I have to say again, I'm being honest with you guys in terms of like, I watch a lot of films. I know what sometimes works and doesn't work in film, and there's a lot of Ant-Man that works really, really well. And that is the scenes when Scott transforms into ant size. All of those work really well directed, really well thought out scenes. I wouldn't say that they're shot like it's not gonna change the way you eat breakfast in the morning, like it's changed your life. It is shot well. That is it. That's what this film has. Everything else that has to do with Hank, I'm really disappointed in. Everything that has to do with the fact that there's supposed to be some sort of motive for the villain, it falls flat for me. And just Scott Lang as Ant-Man is just it's a precursor to Avengers. If you want to know more about how I feel about Ant-Man, ask me below and I will answer more questions in the comments below. I gotta get out of here now. It's 7 out of 10, and somebody asked me if should I see it in the theater? That's a tough one. That's a tough one. You know what? How can I explain this to you? You got Jurassic World, which is like, script-wise is ugh, but the direction and the style made that film. That was why we went and saw it. It was in a fun popcorn film that really paid off. That director understood what he was making. He knew that the script was like throwaway. Who cares about that? It's more about seeing the dinosaurs and having those moments. And look, it made $1 billion. Is Ant-Man gonna make $1 billion? Hell no, because people aren't gonna go back and see it 3-4 times because it doesn't have that drawing power. There's no moments in there where I was like, I have to see that again. It really pays off, and I can't believe that ant battle was that epic and this and that. It doesn't have those moments. It has slight moments of brilliance and a lot of dull moments. So 7 out of 10. Thank you. I'm out of here. I am so scared of ants. By the way, don't unsubscribe because I gave Ant-Man a 7 out of 10. That is ridiculous. I love you guys. It means the world to me. My job here is to be honest with you guys. So I know a lot of people are going to be upset. I gave it a 7 out of 10. I'm just being honest with you. So if you want to leave, then don't let the door hit you on the way out, on the ass. But if it does, take a photo of your ass, send it to me because I like to look at them, but mostly female. A few males. Okay, I'll look at a few. I love you guys. Bye.